So you had two mentors before, no good profits.
The second mentor was decent, but the first one was trash. And then somebody actually gave me your free set and forget. And I was like, this don't feel right. Like watching your shit bootleg. So I bought it. I think that that was the missing piece for me.
And how much have you made so far from that point to this point?
So from the start of me being profitable, it's been 25K. Obviously, you're at 200K right now, and you started that bitch 3 weeks ago, bro. When I put that shit in perspective, I'm like, this motherfucker could have paid for my house twice now in 2 to 3 months. Like, what's good, bro?
Yo, what's good? What's good?
What up? What up, man? I feel like I'm talking to a fucking celebrity in this bitch. What up? Crazy because I've seen this background and shit, but I've never actually talked to you on one-on-one. Even after being in the boot camp, I never got to actually see you. So what's good, man?
What's going on? Yeah, everybody knows the background and shit.
I do want to start by saying I'm salty as fuck. I couldn't actually be in Miami. I had the opportunity, but my fucking wife's grandma had passed, so we had
Yeah.
to. But
Nah, I'm sorry to hear that, bro. But yeah. The guys were telling me because like for the podcast, we're very selective on like who we do for the podcast and who comes out to Miami and stuff.
yeah,
And, I kind of got the message as well. Sorry to hear that, bro.
yeah, so good, man. I ain't gonna lie. I was debating because it's not my grandma. We've been married like 2 years. I was just like, but she been looking out. Honestly, I know that sounds crazy, bro, but the reason why I'm honestly successful with trading is because she's hella supportive. Like she's like every blown account, she's like, it's all right. I believe in you. Buy another one. Buy another one. And I finally got consistent with that shit. And I know you probably gonna ask questions, but to give you a quick background, like I've had three mentors, and you were the third. And the first one was trash. The second one was actually pretty solid, but he was a scalper, like 4 hour, 15 minute only. And I think my homie told me about your first 100 to mil challenge, and bro, I was like, I was watching them YouTube videos like twice a day type shit, and then like that shit just really resonated, and somebody actually gave me your free set and forget, and I was like, this don't feel right. Like watching your shit bootleg. So I bought it, and it was the same exact video. I was like, fuck. I mean, I was thinking to myself, I shouldn't have bought this shit, but I was like, whatever. I'm supporting my dog, even though you don't need the money. But I was like, I'm gonna buy it, buy his shit. So then I was watching him, and then you came out with another boot camp, so I got into that one. But long story short, like watching your like just the higher time frame analysis, and then like obviously the AOIs, all of that shit, like it really just made it easy, and yeah, the rest is history.
So okay. So let's take it back a couple of steps, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
how old are you?
I'm 32.
32. So how long have you been trading, would you say, like overall?
Consistently, like really studying July of 22. So like a little over 2 years.
Okay, sick. And then so you had two mentors before, no good profits. There was just kind of like it just didn't connect with you, basically.
I'd say the second one, a little bit, but it was, in my opinion, even though it wasn't that subjective, it was too aggressive. And I found like he was trying to consider levels on a 15-minute time frame instead of a higher time frame. So they now, after like kind of going through your stuff, I feel like that was kind of noise at that lower time frame. And so his was decent, but he's just really aggressive with break evens and shit too. So like he'll go break even 1-to-1 no matter what, whether it's taking partials or literally moving stop loss. And then at 2R, like he always goes for a 3R trade. And so at 2R, he would always take partials. And so long story short, he was kind of profitable. And I still use some of his stuff. Obviously, as you know, once you learn from several mentors, you kind of start to make your own shit. But again, like yours is what really clicked holistically. And so to answer your question, the second mentor was decent, but the first one was trash. And obviously, how you do.
Okay, so basically, when you joined the 30-day bootcamp, you basically kind of already had awareness of what trading was, right? So, like, I bet like the first week was super boring because I was just teaching like super basic stuff.
Yeah. To be honest, bro, if I'm being brutally honest, like I preach to everybody that you're where I learned the majority of my shit. But that boot camp, the 30-day boot camp that you did most recently, I hardly got to watch them. But I already kind of knew your strategy. I was just trying to chime in on stuff that I was potentially missing. But to be honest, like everything you touched on, I kind of already knew. I was just hoping that there was like extra sauce that you had, like I had missed it, because you were kind of selling it as this one is I'm a lot different, a lot better, and all these things. And obviously, not to say you're not, but as I was regurgitating, I'm like, okay, this is all stuff that's just kind of being reinforced for me. So,
Exactly. Because bro, like I at the end of the day, trading is just the same thing. You just have to basically just repeat it and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. Like you don't have to add more things, you don't have to change more things, you don't got to modify it. And I'm sure you know that now because once you see the patterns and you kind of understand what you're looking at, you just have to figure out how you're gonna risk a little bit more or decide if you're gonna risk a little bit less. Like realistically, nothing changes so far. So when you joined the boot camp, would you say like yeah, you were having results or no results?
I would say that I was having results, and I'm a treat it as if my first boot camp that I watched of yours is the one that you're asking about. So they weren't anywhere near as consistent, and I wasn't setting up and waiting on setups and watching them literally play out the way that I analyzed them prior to them happening before going through the boot camp for sure.
And then what would you say was like the biggest thing that you had technical wise that you were struggling through?
I think it was just my ignorance towards higher time frame analysis and how riding a trend and having 2 time frames and potentially 3 time frames in sync and just waiting on it getting back to a support or resistance like the AOI and then just letting that bitch play out. Like I think that I was missing that entirely because like I was saying, I was only trading 4 hour 15. So I was never really caring for daily or weekly at all. And so
Hmm.
just not being aware of how much that really holds weight on the lower time frames to just get that entry. I think that that was the missing piece for me.
And how much have you made so far from that point to this point?
So from the start of me being profitable, it's been 25K. But that was from like January, from January of this year to now, it's been 25,000.
Sick. Okay, so that's a pretty fucking good amount, right?
Bro, it is, bro. So I'm in the army. I'm active duty military. I get out in November, but I'm not gonna lie, bro. I'm getting out, and I don't plan to work for anybody else because I have this skill set. But I have not been able to make what I make monthly from the military, and I do, to your point, feel like it's just a fear of me not really realizing that bitch can, like, obviously you're at 200K right now, and you started that bitch 3 weeks ago, bro. When I put that shit in perspective, I'm like, this motherfucker could have paid for my house twice now in 2 to 3 months, like. And so I in a lot of times like I'm still scared to go for 2.5 R. Like I always go for 2 R. And if I were to show you my trade journal, bro, there are so many trades that it'll be like I'll be at like 1.8. I'm like, fuck it, that's good enough. I'll close it. And then like an hour later, 4 or 5 days later, that shit'll be like to your points on how you seen USD CAD the other day. Like that shit is like 7, 8 R now. And like I see that shit on my winning trades often. And I'm getting better with letting that shit play out to at least TP. But I still struggle with going for at least a 3 R, 2.5 R and shit. So yeah, if that answers your question. I'd be
Yeah,
rambling.
yeah. Well. First of all, thank you for your service, because bro, I don't know if you know, but I went into ROTC to like kind of like get into the whole vibe, but I didn't like it. It's not my thing. I didn't like the idea of someone like screaming at your face. You know, maybe like the captain that I got at that time was shitty, or he was like having a bad time. But bro, fuck that. I didn't like that shit at all. So, I mean, how were you actually able to learn? So you're not active, I can imagine, when you started trading, or you were?
No, I was. I've been active duty army since 2015, and I'm getting out of active duty in November. So I've been active the whole time. But the first 2 mentors were actually across the country, so their time frames when they were able to teach was at like London time. So I was able to just catch up on sleep. But I'm an officer in the army, so my hours are a little bit different, and I don't have to answer to as many people, and there's not as many people yelling at me. So I am able to manage my time a little bit. But to that point, I worked in a really secure building where I live at, and I was literally watching the videos like at my job and taking notes and shit. Like, so I was just making the time, bro. Like, I would be like, I'm pretty active too. Like, I hoop in the mornings, I do CrossFit and shit, and so I would also, waking up at London time was not a problem. I just am very sleep deprived, but bro, as I try to preach to everybody, like this shit is life changing, and I know it'll set me financially free. So I was gonna wake up, however, which to bring up like swing trading, it's nice because before when I was scalp trading with the other mentor, I was waking up every morning without fail at 1:45 to be ready for the pre-London session, stay through London, then I would go to work and then come back home and try to take care of the kids and shit. But now I set a couple of alerts, and if that bitch don't go off, I take my ass back to sleep and I'm good to go. So, but yeah, to answer your question, I just made the time, bro. I just made the time.
Yeah, I mean, because bro, truthfully, like I think it just makes a lot more sense. Wait for the market to come to you instead of you go to the market every single day. Because like, yeah, the market could give you an opportunity every single day, but it's not going to be a high probability setup every single day. Like you're basically trading a momentum that the market's going to have just because it kicks into the session. That's what it took me a while to understand about scalpers and to really realize, like, dude, that's not how you build an edge on the market. Like the edge that you have is basically momentum.
Yeah.
And every single night you're trying to predict where that momentum's gonna go, and it just sounds like a lot of work. It just makes more sense that you just have one specific, yeah, it's a lot of work. And I don't know, I don't want to put a lot of money behind that type of strategy. To me, it makes more sense to find a pattern that it's going to play out 6 out of 7 times, but when it does play out, you could get these 7, 8, 9, 10 RRs, which is where the real money is. The money isn't on catching a bunch of little moves. The money is in catching one big move and letting the whole thing ride. What would you say like the was is like the biggest move that you've been able to catch to this point right now?
Well, shit, I don't. If you talking about like pips in terms of pips.
No, like RR, like risk to reward. Because you know,
Oh,
at the end of the day, what matters is the risk to reward. Like you could catch 1,000 pips, but if you
yeah.
have 1,000 pip stop loss,
Honestly, it's probably like maybe a 3R because, like I said, I'm scared to let them bitches hold because I'm still tied to the dollar amount, which I shouldn't be. Like, bro, another thing that resonated with me a lot on your first one is like how you would just be driving around letting the trade play out. And one, like, I replayed that shit in my head a lot when you would be like, it's just numbers on the screen, bro. Like, you got to look at that shit like it's just numbers on the screen. Like, don't be tied to the dollar amount. And even on your last trade, it's just I mean, obviously it's literally money, but if you really try to put it in perspective to help take your emotion out of it, it's like, bro, don't get tied to the dollar amount. You've seen this setup play out several times, and the same person next door is risking $5, and yeah, you're risking 500,000, but bro, you guys are both getting that same risk to reward. But I am still mentally when I see 3K, I'm like, bro, that's 3K, that's paying all the bills. You know what I'm saying? And so like
yeah.
it's hard for me to conceptualize. And so from what I've secured is like I think 3R, but what I've seen, and if I would have just not cut my trade early, I've seen like 5, 6, 7, 8R, honestly. And that's with like gracious stop losses, like 20, 30, 40 pip stop losses.
And was it easy for you to grasp the concept of like the set and forget strategy, or was it difficult?
Yeah, it was super easy. I'm trying to think if there was ever a time where I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, it was super easy, bro. I don't think there
And
is.
do you think the army helped you out with anything or no?
Maybe discipline of being able to wake up. You heard of Rangers, Army Rangers?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I'm a ranger, and so in
Oh
ranger,
shit.
yeah, they sleep deprive you and they starve you. So I knew that I could withstand being up, and so that's why I'm able to. And obviously David Goggins, I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's a Navy SEAL, but he like I've read his books, and a lot of times when my wife like you need more sleep or you need to do X Y Z, I'm like fuck that. David Goggins can do it. Like, and obviously like I've seen your journey. Anybody who wants to be successful, it's mental, bro. So I keep in mind that I don't give a fuck if I'm on 2 hours of sleep 5 days a week. Like I'm gonna still get my workout in. I'm gonna still make sure I'm at the charts, you know. And so I think the Army for sure helped me with that, like Ranger School, and just realizing that I can do it. Because in Ranger School, you literally on like an hour or two of sleep, and then one meal for the whole day. But then you're literally expected to leave, walk literal miles, like 10 to 20 miles a day with like 100-pound backpack in boots and fucking. So once I went through that shit, I'm like, bro, this like waking up in the AC, fucking go eat whenever the fuck I want. I'm like, I'm chilling. So yeah,
So what's one of the biggest struggles that you face right now in your trading? If all that other stuff is out the window.
bro. If I'm being honest with you, it's embarrassing to say, and this is actually a question for you. I had got so consistent with trading that I started teaching. Like I made a whole business out of it, and because I would see so many trades play out in my favor. And back then I was being more consistent and just doing like 1 or 2 trades a week. And then if I had a win, I would be done for the week. But because I was starting to see that so often, and my students were like, bro, you're like hitting 80% a week. Like I started to take more trades and I started to rush the trades. So now my patience is starting to fucking thin. And that was my question for you. So to back up a little bit, I got consistently profitable January of this year, but I was actually funded on 2 accounts last year around July. That's when I started the company. And I never seen a profit from any of those 2 funded accounts because I don't think I had a sound strategy. I don't know if it's that I got lucky, even though I passed phase 1, phase 2. But at that point, I never seen a profit. But once I found your strategy and stuff, it started to resonate more. But I think that I started to rush trades because it was at the AOI, and I don't know if I was like I was like, oh, it's almost a shift of structure, so fucking good enough. Sell that bitch, and bro, that like that little shit be mattering. So I think now it's just trying to get back patient and making sure that I either only take that one setup so I can eat the loss, or I don't know, brother. But that's my biggest struggle for sure.
I mean, what I would say is because obviously you're deeply invested into trading, right? Like you're not gonna not stop trading. You're gonna stay trading pretty much forever. It's like a skill set. Once you learn it, you're never gonna forget it. Like you're never gonna forget the army rituals, the ranger rituals. Like you're never gonna forget. Like I still know how to do my left face, about face. Like I still know how to do all that shit, and I only did it for like a year. I can imagine, you've been there since 2015, so like you don't forget the shit that you've learned. It's gonna be the exact same thing as the trading shit. You're not gonna forget the things you've learned. But if there's not somebody holding yourself accountable, like you're gonna make the mistakes and you're gonna turn it. Like you're gonna keep pulling up, but you're gonna keep making mistakes. Like you as a ranger, it's a cadet, sergeant ranger. How does it go?
So it's enlisted and officer. So cadets and then sergeants, like anywhere from sergeant to sergeant first class to sergeant major is all enlisted. And then there's officers from like lieutenant, captain, major, and I'm a captain as an officer. So I'm over all enlisted soldiers, and then I'm an O3, which is like the third ranking officer in terms of the tiers.
So who's on top of you?
Majors and lieutenant colonels.
So they're keeping you in check. So whenever you do something wrong, they're holding you accountable for whenever you do something wrong, right?
Right.
Okay, so you got to make sure that you're doing something to yourself to hold yourself accountable in your trading. If you know, if you have your own community that now you're doing or whatever you're doing, like you got to hold your, like you got to have somebody on top of you, whether it's your wife, whether it's your kids, you got to have somebody that's going to be there for you and make, you know, keep you in check, or you keep yourself in check. Like you see the shit that I do with the car. Whenever I break my rules, I drive that fucking piece of shit. Like I don't really want to drive that car, you know, but like I'm keeping myself in check. Or the second thing that you can do is going to be just don't trade. Just yeah, analyze the markets for 2 weeks and do your analysis. Wake up like if you were gonna enter a trade if your alarm hits. Just like do everything that you were to do if you were gonna trade, but don't place the trade. So when the result happens, win or lose, you're gonna be like, fuck, you know what? I could have made their 3 bands and I could have paid for my bills or I could have done for this. And then they're gonna be like, okay, bet. Next time that I break my trading plan or I overtrade, is it worth it? Not trading again and just watching the market and missing out. And then there you're gonna pretty much come to your own conclusion. You got what I'm saying?
That's good. That's good. That's good. If you have any more questions, first, feel free to shoot them, bro, because I got one for you. If not.
Okay, no, go shoot me, go hit me. But don't actually shoot me. Don't fucking shoot me.
That's not ironic. So, how long have you only been doing one trade a week? And I know you were. So, sidebar, was UJ the trade that you were looking at as your second trade this week?
Yeah.
It's crazy, bro. Like Instagram, I tried, like when I really started to dive deep into like making sure I'm on my shit, I had to delete the app so that I can stay focused and not follow your trades or anything. But once I knew that I was comfortable with my shit, bro, there would be times that I would check your Instagram and you would literally be like a pip off, or I would be a pip off of you, whoever, on entries. And I was not following your shit. And I was like, this is how I know what the fuck I'm doing. And like, we're on the same shit. But to that point, like, how long have you only been doing like one trade a week? Or have you always been like, okay, I'm cool off one or two?
Bro, I started that probably like 2 years ago, and you can see like on my Instagram on everything. Like as soon as I started doing that, everything just started going like that because I just started understanding that not an A+ trade setup or 100% whatever is gonna come every single week or even every 2 weeks. So I just limited myself to one trade a week about 2 years ago, and that's what's changed my trading forever.
Okay. And on that note, like bro, I've watched I know your whole story, obviously. So I remember when like I told you, I blew my first two accounts and never actually got a profit. I know it's yours. You actually got a profit, but then blew it.
Yeah.
Like how many years? Because I know you've been like 5-6 years now trading.
6 years, yeah.
And so when you got funded the first time, you were like what, 2 years in or so, or do you
Two and
remember?
a half years, yeah.
And how long after you blew that one did it take you to get funded again and then consistent? Was it that same year or like a lot later?
No, like literally next month. I got funded next month. Or like a month and a half or something like that. I don't remember.
Okay. And then what's my last one? Do you not have feelings towards seeing? Oh, I guess it was about kind of a piggyback off the first one I asked. So the question literally says, do you not have feelings towards seeing several setups that you call play out and not taking them? Like, does that shit not affect you?
It does sometimes, right? Because you got to pretty much come down to a decision and be like, okay, yo, like, am I going to put risk on all these or am I just going to pick one? Well, if you pick one and you pick the one out of the three
Right.
that goes the wrong way, you're going to feel like a fucking idiot.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's just what you're okay with doing. For me, if I have 5 setups and out of the 5, they're all ready to enter, I'm just going to pick one.
Right.
Now, I'm not gonna distribute my risk that I would do on one across 5. I don't know. To me, it's just so much more to handle. I'd rather just out of the 5 find the one that I like best and then just double down on that one.
Yeah. And do you, knowing that you're only taking like 1 or 2 a week, like when you were starting to be on funded like prop firms and shit, were you doing 2%, 3% per trade or like 1?
Yeah, when you're on prop firms, you got to follow the rules. There's no way around the rules, and it fucking sucks. Like I don't trade prop firms now. I haven't for like 2 years because I hate the rules. I'm not trying to follow rules. But like the prop firm rules, I follow my trading rules.
Yeah. And now I'm only asking because like obviously when I'm trying to get funded like on a larger account, I'm wondering, like obviously it's like the 10% you got to meet and then the 5%. And so I'm curious, like when you were doing that, did you do 1% to try to make sure you're not going to blow it, or were you doing like 2 or 3 because you know your trades are high probability and you're still not going to blow like the daily?
No, dude, I was doing like 2, 3% for sure. But I was taking like one trade every 2 weeks. Like, and that's really all I needed. Bro, you risk 3%, you catch a 1 to 3, there's 9%. Like
Yeah,
that's it.
you're right. Bro. You're right.
You
You're
feel
right.
me? Like, bro, you know this. You've made money. Like
Yeah, I know. I'm just curious, and that's what I'm saying. Like, knowing even if I stayed with my bitch assness of a 2R reward on a 2%, that's 4%. Or even if I risk three, that's 6%. But if I really start to like hold my nuts and realize like that it's just price action, and whatever you're risking is still going to be price action for everybody else. Like that's literally, I think that's my biggest thing right now is to just be confident to hold my trades and then I guess stop being so impatient because I've been so profitable like that. I know that shit sounds backwards, but that's my struggle right now.
bro, trust me, like I can tell where you are right now in your journey just by like the questions that you're asking and like the thought process that you have behind trading because you're not asking technical questions. You got the technicals down packed, right? That's easy, right? You know, a lot of people they have troubles understanding the technicals, which is what's going to directly them make them the money because you know you're reading the technicals as opposed to make you the money. But what really scales you the money are the questions you're asking right now, which are more like higher level questions and almost like psychological to a certain extent because you almost know the answer to the questions that you're asking me, but you just want like that self confirmation for yourself. So you're like, okay, you know what? I know I think I know the answer, but I just want a confirmation. But truthfully, you know the answer to a lot of these questions. You just need that extra confirmation. So you just double down on it and then you just do it and shit. But like I know where you are in your journey right now. Like, yes, like you were like here and then you broke through and now you're making money and now you're kind of plateauing a little bit. But like you just want to get to that next point to then go up. You don't have to change anything different. You don't have to add anything different. You don't have to modify. You just gotta double down on what works, not think about what you're already doing right, like the subconscious shit that you do, which is wait for a trade, not wake up, fucking like not wake up at 1 in the morning to force a trade, like look at the trend, shit like that you do subconscious and you got it down packed. Don't even think about that. Just completely set and forget that shit. It's just normal. It's just your normal day-to-day routine. And then what you got to do is double down on what you do best. So if you do best, let's say entry signal or whatever you want to do best, double down on that. And the things that you don't do best, you attack those. Don't try and fix and modify the shit that you already got figured out. So like if right now you're struggling on this whole risk management or this whole like percentage stuff, like just crack down on that because that's what's holding you from getting to the next one. You don't have to learn anything else, bro. Like you're already maxed out on how much you can learn that you need to be profitable in terms of technicals. Now it's just more of like self-development in your person to get to that next level. You know what I'm saying?
That's facts, bro. I appreciate it.
You feel me? So I mean, it's kind of interesting, right? Because like I like seeing every trader's different part of their journey, and you can almost like I can literally see it, dude. Like I just got off a podcast previously, and the previous trader was kind of in the same spot from like where you are right now. Like you guys make money, and as soon as you make money, you obviously you don't want to lose it. You want to like now continuously to make money, and you want to not ever go back to the position you were before. And you're not like you're not the same person right now that you were 6 months ago. And you even losing for 2 months in a row in trading doesn't mean that you're that person again. Like you're not gonna ever be that same person. You're gonna only evolve as a person. The only thing that's gonna determine if you're gonna keep making money here or growing is how you handle those losses throughout that journey. You get what I'm saying? And if you realize what you're doing wrong and how you fix it.
Yeah. Man, that shit helps, bro. That's good, like you said, to hear that confirmation. Because I even on a losing trade, like to that point, do you ever re-enter on a loss knowing that you're probably still right on direction and you just got like wicked out?
I mean, yeah, it depends. Yeah, it depends on the trade. Depends on the trade.
Sometimes I do that, and then even with those, I think sometimes I get into like a slippery slope, but nonetheless, like I won't blow an account. Like even if I have to start risking $50 on an 80K or 125K account, like I'll do that to make sure I don't blow it. But I do think that I'm just like a step or two away from just being comfortable to holding bitches. I think for sure. It's like,
Yeah, bro, dude, you got the technicals down pat, bro. So you were part of the last boot camp, right? I'm thinking of doing another boot camp right now. Something that I want to add to it is like a 30 minutes before the actual class would get started. Then we do the class, if it lasts an hour, however long it lasts, and then we do like a 30-minute call after, right? Which is to just answer whatever questions people had about the class. So answers before the class, and answers after the class about the class. Like
you mean on a daily or before the entire class starts?
every single day, 30 minutes before the class, and then 30 minutes after the class every day. That's crazy, right?
I will say, and I hope you don't take offense to this, bro. But first off, I respect the fuck that I mean, you're younger than me and you're disciplined to even show up, like knowing you don't fucking need this money and doing this shit is dope in itself. But it's funny, like, and I can't even imagine. And between me and you, I don't know if it's being recorded, but I feel like, and you don't have to confirm this or not, that it wasn't really 100 traders in that first boot camp. I mean, in that last boot camp, it was like way more. Like,
No, no, yeah. I mean, new traders that came in, it was just 100. But then there was
uh,
students from inside of the course that joined, so there was more than 100.
but yeah. Anyways, it just seems like where was I going with that? I think you were to have that kind of care to make sure that motherfuckers understand, even though like I was in there trying to ask very actual like these type of questions, and because I'm imagining so many people were spamming that shit, mine really never got touched on, and then I felt like an asshole trying to spam it, so I wouldn't spam it. But so is that what that would kind of cover, the 30 minutes before and the 30 minutes after, so that people.
Yeah, yeah, that's literally what that whole new strategy for the boot camp is. It's like for that because I don't want to have that. I don't want to have people need to spam their questions or like trying to fucking just copy and paste it all the time. Because like literally just think about it, like 50 people at the same time asking questions, spamming it, bro, literally the chat's just going like that with only 50 people. So imagine, you add 100 people in there, 150 people in there, it's fucking going ridiculous. So yeah, like, I'm trying to like figure out to provide as much value as I can if I were to do it again, for sure.
Yeah, I'm trying. For me, I don't. I mean, I think it would have helped for me, even though I wouldn't have asked thousands of questions. But and if you didn't do it that way, it would just be the hour during the boot camp and nothing else.
Yeah, which I think is not like if I want to provide as much value as possible, I don't think I'd be providing as much if I were to actually be doing that. Like I don't mind to put in the time. Like I generally like it. You get me? Because bro, like, at the end of the day, like I can make whatever X amount from trading and do whatever the fuck, but like sometimes it gets a bit boring and it's just cool because then there's like a huge snowball effect to doing the 30-day boot camp with like you guys, right? Like I just met somebody that he was from Italy. Like now I know when I go to Italy, I got fucking so I got like I got a boy in Italy right now that I just met through online, which is pretty sick. So there's like a really big snowball effect to it, which I like creating.
Well, with to that point, well, and you kind of touched on it, but I'm not gonna lie, bro. I was salty that we didn't get to be on camera and like actually interact with you at all during the boot camp, bro. Because my last mentor, and you might have heard of him. He's like kind of big on Instagram. His name is Rocks. He has a big ass mole, and he's kind of chunky but muscular, and he's from the UK. But I did a 12-week master. Well, I forgot how he phrased it, but basically it was mentorship on a boot camp style, like how you did it. But everybody's cameras was on, and then he would give them the opportunity to come forward. And honestly, even though you're charismatic and you give off like, please come forward, most people are shy and they don't want to. But not me. Like I would be on there like, yo, bro, like I have a question on this, and it won't be like fucking around. Like I would really have a question. And I know you did that on the first boot camp, but why? Like I think that would probably be more value than the 30 minutes before, because I feel like if everyone can see you're on camera, they're not gonna be fucking spamming the chat. Like if you can make sure that people are on camera and be like, look, I'll kick y'all, you'll get refunded the money. I don't need this money. I don't want trolls in this bitch. Like cameras on. If you're gonna talk, you need to make sure your mic works, and then like that way, I think you won't have to be reading crazy questions, and then it could be like maybe 10 questions in the beginning and then 10 at the end, and then they have to raise their hand through Zoom so that it's more organized versus you not really getting the people who really have a question.
Yeah, I mean, bro, like even at a scale of 100, that's fucking impossible.
Yeah.
Like, bro, 100 people is a lot of people, dude. Like,
And you mean in terms of but you really think that all 100 will have new questions with the way that you're being able to break it down?
like, bro, people remix their questions. People remix the question in different ways. Like, like it's basically like what you said, like the add-on to the question that you had. They'll just have like an add-on to an add-on to an add-on to an add. Like it's just,
Yeah.
it's hard, bro. It's complicated. But so I mean, like if you were to recommend the boot camp, you would recommend the boot camp to somebody that just is getting started in trading. Let's say.
Yes, for sure. I'm trying to think because your last boot camp, I got more value in the boot camp when you did the first one, but I'm trying to think how much different it was. I think that you should honestly just appeal to the crowd that like has an understanding, because like having to explain a pip and a candlestick and all that, I feel like you got to have a decent understanding and you'll still get a good crowd. But yeah, nonetheless, I would recommend the boot camp because it's dummy proof, bro. It's like you have, and that's what really to your initial question is what helped me understand trend is when you would literally draw like, and a lot of times I don't even use the word consolidation or ranging anymore after like going through your shit, because at the end of the day, there is a fucking higher high or a higher low that hasn't been broken. And so no matter how sideways the market looks, we are still in an uptrend or a downtrend. And when you, and granted, like sometimes that is subjective on where you're gonna identify a level, but ultimately, like if you're not trying to like force something in a trade, they're still pretty obvious. Like how you call them elbows. Like I think that that is really dummy proof. And so I think that as long as people understand that, they'll be straight. And so
Which is the market structure, which is what a lot of people don't
market
fucking
structure.
ever
Yeah,
understand.
you teach the way you teach market structure is a game changer for anybody who needs to understand how to ride a trend, bro. Because if you understand the market structure, you're gonna understand how to find an area of interest because you're looking at those market structure points in a straight line, and then that's it. That's really honestly, I don't even use most of your strategy. I use the area of interest. I use the EMA, and then I use obviously the trend that you help, and then I would without fail put weekly, daily, and 4 hour bullish or bearish, and then once I have two in sync, then that's it. Like that's all I use within it because I don't want to overcomplicate. Round psychological level, I remember reading that on Baby Pips, and when you like double down on it, I'm like, okay, cool. But like even trying to find those in there, I'm like, whatever. Like I'm rocking with the meat and potatoes.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, that's really like what the basis of the strategy is on. It's just literally the time frames in sync and then the area of interest. Everything else that is added on top of that is literally just an add-on to make it have more confluences rather than not. Like it's literally just making it look a little bit pretty. Like, you have a pretty girl, she has a pretty body. Like now adding the EMA, adding the round psychological, that's just like adding fucking lipstick and like a fucking earring or something. You get me? It's just like add-ons. But like the basis of it is already solid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes sense. But what can I ask you a technical analysis question actually?
Sure, sure.
So if you have the 4 hour in sync, or if you have the daily and the weekly in sync and the 4 hours in the opposing, and it's like a strong ass bullish candle on the 4 hour, but you have the shifter structure on the lower time frames, are you hesitant to take that trade in the direction that you're looking for?
It really depends on the trade. Every trade is different. Like just based off of what you're telling me, which is just two time frames in sync. What are you at a daily area of interest or weekly area of interest?
Daily.
Okay, and then do you have like daily rejection price action?
Yeah. Well, actually, let me see. Yep. It's
Okay.
basically UJ from yesterday. Like the shift of structure happened on the lower time frames, and I'm trying to rationalize with myself it was just a losing trade, but that shit was everything was there, and it was just a losing trade is what I'm assuming maybe it is. But like, why were you not interested in UJ? Was it because you already had the win, or
Yeah. I didn't enter usually because I already hit the profit for the week. And like whatever trade I'm gonna take, I want to be extremely selective about on it.
okay? So I'm gonna just chalk it up to it just being a losing trade then.
Yeah, right here. I mean, it's just a losing trade. Like I guarantee you that pattern that just happened on UJ over the course of 10 trades, you'll probably win five, lose five. The five you win, it's a 1 to 2 minimum. Make back. Like it's literally what it is. Like remember, it's never gonna be 100%. But
Yeah.
like just because you have the positive RR, it just makes back all the loss. It's not a big deal.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. But like you see, like this, you get me? So like you're at that part in your journey where like you're seeing things, but you're just like you just want to scale fast now because you've made money and you just want to get it. But you're having like self-doubt almost, and you want to keep like just like you don't want to lose. And I get it. I totally understand. But you can't be scared of that, bro. Like you gotta go back to that raw mindset you had at the beginning. It's like, yo, I'm gonna just fucking get into this and do whatever I gotta do. But like you know that you like you just said it like all right, I'm kind of as a loss, but like it. You just need somebody to confirm to it, which is fine. I needed that too when I was at that part of my journey. But like I'm here to tell you that you don't no longer need that extra confirmation from anybody. You know the answer to all the small doubts that you may have is what I want to say.
Appreciate it, bro. That's a bet.
All right. But no, bro, I appreciate you taking time out of your day. Appreciate you for the service that you've done for the country. I know the army and all that stuff is like, it could either make or break you. I know some people like it, I know some people don't like it. I don't really like it, but I respect it. And appreciate you for trusting in me. And I'm glad that the Set and Forget strategy could help you out and, get you to the point where you're able to constantly make money in the markets, bro.
Yeah, bro, I appreciate you. I thought this was spam. I didn't know if you was gonna be on here, so I'm glad you finally. I finally got to talk to you, man. This is dope.
Of course, well, hopefully we'll link up soon in Miami, and I hope everything goes well with your wife's grandma.
All
All right.
right, I
All
appreciate
right.
it.
See you, brother. Take care.